It's great to see so many faces here, which is a testimony of the power of decentralization and how far DigiByte has gone since 2014. So today we are going to have some key members of the DigiByte team, such as the founder Tate, Rudy, Bouwman, and also Josiah Spackman. He will be joining us via Skype, and we will be talking about the latest progress and development of the technology, but also they will be sharing their experience and contribution to DigiByte. Then there will be some other professionals who have been developing applications to integrate with DigiByte. They will be giving a speech as a presentation. So I know there is a lot to say, but we are trying to condensate everything in just a couple of hours, so there won't be much time for questions, but you can keep your question for the networking afterwards, and enjoy, and thank you so much for all your support, and also to be part of this great family. Now, my pleasure to introduce Jared, the founder of DigiByte.
Thank you, Steffy. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here today. I'd like to thank everybody for coming. I know a lot of people made journeys from quite a ways away. Just a little background on why we decided to do the first ever global summit in Amsterdam. So shortly after DigiByte was launched in 2014, some people on the forum, Bitcoin Talk, reached out to me. And it blew my mind when I found out that they were European. And as we continued talking, I found out that the majority of them were from Holland. So actually going back as soon as the end of 2014 and into 2015, there was a city just south of here, Zoetermeer, where at one point the whole street was actually accepting DigiByte. So that's just a little background on basically why we ended up here, as well as our very welcoming hosts, Rudy and crew, and thank you, Steffi. So yeah, it's my pleasure to be here and to introduce and to basically talk at the first ever DigiByte Global Summit about the state of DigiByte and where it's at. So as most of you probably already know, DigiByte started in 2014 with the hash from the Genesis block, USA Today, target data stolen from up to 110 million customers. So it's hard to believe that that was already over 5 years ago. But that has kind of highlighted our path and our vision and where we have been headed since then. And how many people, by a show of hands in this room, have had their identity stolen? I would be willing to bet every single person in this room has had their identity stolen multiple times. So we're working on solutions for that. So we'll get into that a little bit later. So from that point forward, we have positioned DigiByte to be more secure, with faster transactions and forward-thinking blockchain technology. Our core values have been, we remain open source, anyone can contribute, and to this day, there's actually developers still contributing to our project that I've never even met, and I don't even know their name. So it's pretty fascinating. We were never an ICO, and there was never a large centralized pre-mine. In fact, every DigiByte I own, I either mined or I purchased on the market. And I have less than a fraction of 1% of the entire thing. So that's actually pretty much, that's unique among the entire crypto landscape. So that's why DigiByte, is such a true grassroots project. So over the last 5 years, we've had a series of innovations. One of the things I like to tell people is DigiByte's actually been recreated 5 times. So if you took the original DigiByte client, and you actually compared it to what it is today, today it's far superior. So I like to explain to people that within a blockchain, there's like 10 different subsystems. It's almost like when you're on an airplane and you have the oxygen system, you have the hydraulics, you have the navigation system. Well, that's kind of how it is on a blockchain. And each one of those systems has been improved within DigiByte over the last 5 years numerous times. So one of those improvements, we started with the DigiShield hard fork in 2014. which is that code, the real-time difficulty adjustment, has now found its way into everything from Ethereum to Bitcoin Cash. So from that point forward, we decided, hey, why should we stick with one mining algorithm when we can have 5? So over the years, this push towards creating a truly decentralized blockchain has basically allowed us to have over 270,000, or well, almost 270,000 full nodes created since 2017. So here's a quick comparison, just by a show of hands. I know, obviously, I'm assuming everybody here has heard of DigiByte at one point or another, but how many people in this room feel comfortable basically introducing somebody new to the concept of blockchain? Like, just by a show of hands, all right? Majority of people. How many people in the room feel comfortable basically introducing somebody to the concept of a Merkle tree data structure? Okay, all right, there we go. We got a couple, okay. No, that's good. We still have a ways to go. As you can see here, DigiByte is 40 times faster than Bitcoin. We have the ability to do, as you can see here, Bitcoin does 3 to 7 transactions per second. DigiByte can do 560 transactions per second. So we have a lot more room for scalability. So I think a lot of people have probably already seen this image. So where does DigiByte actually fit into the landscape today? I know this is a question that's asked a lot. People are like, why is DigiByte, down in 40 when it should be in the top 10? But I like to describe DigiByte like this. So if you look at this diagram and you imagine a tree, and the trunk of the tree, which is the oldest part of the tree, it's the most sturdy, it's the most stable, is the original UTXO protocol pioneered by Bitcoin. DigiByte is an extension of that. That was, where we started. It's like, hey, how can we improve the speed and security of the original Bitcoin protocol, right? And that tree is actually, it's definitely the most solid in existence, and it's the most battle-hardened, and it's the oldest. Now, out of that, you have all these branches, and that's where you have ICOs, you have proof of stake, you have proof of hard drive, you have all these different approaches to how you secure and decentralize a blockchain. So what our philosophy has been since day one is let's take the most battle-hardened, tested code, and let's continue to innovate on top of that and build on top of that. So that's why I like this this diagram. But it's a little dated. We need to update it, but that's how fast the pace of innovation in this industry works. So there will be 21 billion digibytes created by the year 2035. Now, when we came up with that number, we decided to make it a 1 to 1,000 ratio with Bitcoin. So there will be 21 million Bitcoin ever created in 144 years. But it doesn't really make sense when you show up and you pay for Bitcoin and you have to, it's 3 euros, 4 euros, and it's 0.00023 Bitcoin, right? It's confusing. So that's why we decided to do the 1 to 1,000 ratio. And also, that way, everybody on the planet could potentially have some, Bitcoin, it's currently, I think, 14 million in circulation. You can't even have, like the city of New York alone, everybody can't even have one. So that's mathematically to show you how scarce this is. And everybody here is a pioneer for, being here today. So DigiByte uses 5 unique mining algorithms. We're going to go in that a little bit later today when we're going to talk about the future hard fork. Well, it's not a hard fork, it's an algo fork for DigiByte. So once again, some of the code we've pioneered is now used in many of the top blockchain projects around. DigiByte is currently on over 100 exchanges globally. So it's actually pretty fascinating to think about in almost every civilized country out there. And a lot of that has been due to the work of Rudy and the DigiByte awareness team and many more. So if you go to, there's a website that basically does the statistics for GitHub. That's where we're pulling these statistics from. So since we activated SegWit in April 2017, DigiByte has had 267,718 full nodes set up. Now, that doesn't mean that those nodes are actually active at any given time. But what that means is at one point, imagine a hard drive that you backed up 267,000 times, So it's pretty incredible from a data perspective. Currently, DigiByte is the longest public UTXO blockchain in the world. Now, people are like, okay, that's cool. You have 8.5 million blocks compared to Bitcoin's 560,000. But a lot of people don't actually realize there's a lot of challenges that come around with that. Some of those challenges are, how do you take a mobile wallet and you allow it to sync with 8.5 million headers in a reasonable amount of time to basically allow somebody to download a wallet and start using it within 5 or 10 minutes. So we've actually had to engineer and come up with solutions that Bitcoin isn't going to face for another 20 years from their mobile wallets, because it's the same amount of data. So the same amount of block data in each header, in each individual block, has to be basically synced. So we actually took the original Bitcoin, basically mobile wallets, and we actually re-engineered them, and the developers have done an amazing job. And we actually now have the best SPV mobile wallet in the world, hands down, from an engineering perspective. So it's actually, and then that also transfers over to the Qt core client. We've actually had to engineer some solutions that a lot of people aren't aware of in order to basically allow you, when you download that wallet, for it to basically sync in a reasonable amount of time. So now people, sometimes say, hey, what are you guys doing? You're not very active. Well, over the last basically 2 years, we've actually released 9 full versions and updates of the DigiByte Core Qt wallet. Going back to the DigiSync release, which is where we activated SegWit on April 9th, 2017. That wallet alone was downloaded over 100,000 times, so pretty significant. And then there's been several versions, beta versions prior to that and in the middle. Then we fast forward to March 26, 2018. With version 6.16.2, there was over 100,000 lines of code changed in that release alone. So, the thing is, a lot of people, I started it, I founded it, but it definitely would not be here without the help of some very brilliant developers who to this day, continue to be anonymous. So that's the beauty of a decentralized project. But just know that there's some very brilliant minds helping contribute to this project. And here we are at version 6.17.2 that we released in February. And that is basically laying the groundwork for version 7.17, what we call Udacrypt, which I'll get into later today. But the important thing to note here is in the versioning, every time you see so we started out with version 1, right? And then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So basically, DigiByte is approaching its 7th iteration. Now, what that means is a lot of people and founders, I'm not going to name names since this is being live streamed, it'll be on the internet, but some people in this industry, instead of just improving upon what they've already basically created, they go and build another one because they can obviously make a lot of money and get away with it, right? But that's never been our philosophy. It's like, why not just continue iterating on the project and make it as good as it can be and backwards compatible? So what is the future of DigiByte? Well, we're going to get into it a little bit later with DigiAssets, DigiID. I know we're going to hear some amazing presentations from that perspective. We're going to talk about the Udacrypt hard fork, how we can keep increasing commercial adoption, and then also community growth and market education and awareness. So once again, it's an honor to be here. Thank you all for coming. And it should be a good time. So, yeah. Oh, by the way, want to do this video.
DigiByte is truly a decentralized global blockchain. So many people use that word decentralized, but what does it really mean? It means putting the power back into the hands of the people. Our secure blockchain is spread over thousands of servers, computers, phones, and nodes across the whole world. We are so decentralized that we use 5 secure mining algorithms to prevent mining centralization, compared to most others who use just 1. We didn't have an ICO back in 2014, and we definitely don't pay for shills. DigiByte is listed on over 100 exchanges and counting, in spite of not paying a single dollar, and we never will, no matter the size of the exchange. Why? Because we take pride in our integrity. That is the reason we have survived many cold crypto winters, and we're built to survive many more. After 5 years of consistent, committed development, rapid community growth, and new use cases like DigiID, DigiAssets, and DigiCafe, the DigiByte blockchain has become the world's longest, fastest, and most secure UTXO blockchain in existence. We are a large, active, and global community of dreamers, developers, and people who have contributed to this project in countless ways. So, by being truly decentralized, that makes each one of us DigiByte. Join us and get your first DigiBytes today. Be your own bank in our open source community. DigiByte, more secure, faster, and forward thinking.
And once again, like I said, you know, a lot of times people, you know, will call me the CEO or whatever, and I'm not. This project is much bigger than any single individual. It's a community, and that's what makes it tick and matter. So with that, I'd like to turn things over to Rudy.
I've been asked to tell you a little bit about the DigiByte awareness team, so I'm glad to do that. So who are we? How are we organized? What are we doing? How do we get funded? And how can you join the team? DigiByte Awareness Team, also called DigiByte, is a global community-driven outreach initiative, and it's founded in May 2018. And to be honest, I'd never expected it to be such a great success. And our accomplishments in 2018 are rather impressive, and but our future plans are even more promising. So, we founded in May 2018. That means next month we have our first 1-year anniversary, so we're looking forward to that as well. We all know that DigiByte has no company behind it. We don't have ICO money, and so we are fueled by the passion and the commitment of all the members. And it started 1 year ago in May 2018. We got together on a chat and Twitter with 7 other people, because that time there was quite some frustration within the community about the lack of marketing with DigiByte. And apparently the people were thinking that Jared and his team should take care of the marketing. But people were not aware of the fact that Jared and the team are for the development of the project in the first place. So we were thinking it's a shared responsibility of the community to produce the marketing, to create awareness, to take care of the education. And so we got together and we have decided, different people with different skills, and we've decided to create a team to get the communication organized in Telegram channels, and we call it the DigiByte Awareness Team. And over time we have invited more people with different skills to the team, and today we are 25 people in the core, over 40 members total in the team, and we also have some advocates, and I will tell you a little bit more about that later. DigiByte Awareness Team has no centralization. There is no authority. We have men, women from different countries, different ages, and different skills. So we are a team of professionals. Majority of us have a daytime job, and the work what we're doing for DigiByte is all voluntary. And yeah, we want to achieve adoption through marketing, outreach, and education. So who are we? Majority of the team can be found on the social media platforms like Twitter, Telegram, Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram. And among them we have some very talented people. Some people who make some great graphics design, also creating the logos for the team, and also producing promotional videos like I don't know the name, DigiByte Unlimited, I think it's called, making some great videos. And we have also somebody from Romania, Alex Bogdan, he's doing some videos from time to time for us as well. Of course, we have YouTube as a platform, and there are some guys in the team that produce videos almost every day. We all know Matt from Crypto currently, and of course, good old DigiByte Dan. We can see him every day with some great videos, very educating. Also a very important team is our outreach team. There we have people like Rutger, Glenn, Jim, Amar, Nigel, Murad, Frederick, myself. So what we are doing is we are contacting exchanges, companies, payment processors, and we are trying to build relations, maintaining the relations, and also very important, we are doing the vetting, because unfortunately in this space there are a lot of scammers. This space is really toxic. Even yesterday evening I had this experience. I did an application to get listed on an exchange last week, and yesterday I received an email, the confirmation that our listing has been approved, but we need to pay 1.5 Bitcoin. And that was weird because that exchange had a $0 listing policy. So that was weird. And I checked the email and it seems to be spoofed. There was a link in the website which was a little bit different than the original. And when I clicked on the link, it is exact copy of the original website, even real time. So there was a big red flag there. So yeah, vetting is very important. We have our different methods to do this vetting. And we have to make sure that if we endorse a partnership, that it will be safe for the community. So the goal of the outreach team is to get DigiByte integrated in these companies, and also to have them use the DigiByte technology. That's also very important. Then we have a team, people that are joining meetups and events, very important. A couple of weeks ago we had the CoinFest in the UK, in Manchester. There were some people like Dean, Cedric, Ben, Stephen Candle, Dave. They are representing DigiByte there. And last week we had in Texas, we had this meetup from Bitcoin Ben, and Laura, Taylor, and Matthew flew over to Texas to represent DigiByte there. So they're really doing a great job. We also have some writers in the team. They are producing the articles, press releases. They also do some proofreading for things we are writing, because we're not always an expert in that. And also very important, we have our own team of developers. For example, we have Jin. He's taking care of our website development, the updates. And also, Jin is one of the founders of a crypto-to-crypto exchange called Change Angel. Also, some other DigiByte Awareness team members are involved. This exchange has been created to support the DigiByte Awareness team, because they share a part of the trading fee. And some other developers that are part of DigiByte Awareness team is Jan from Antum, and even Adam Wolf, which is the creator of DigiCafe and nowadays also part of Block 30 Labs. He's also part of the DigiByte Awareness team. So yeah, again, we're all unpaid, we're all volunteers, and also, a lot is being paid out of our own pockets, and like the cost of travel, and but fortunately we do get some funding. We have a DigiByte Awareness Team General Fund, and the time I created the sheet, there were over 1,300 euros, so it's not that much, but every little bit helps. We do get donations from the community. We're very grateful for that. Also, exchanges do share trading fees with us, and it seems like Vertbase has set a trend here, because they have listed DigiByte for free and have decided to share trading fees. And the other exchange I mentioned was Change Angel, which has been created by the DigiByte Awareness team members. And we now have also an exchange called Bulex, listed DigiByte for free and is sharing the trading fees with the DigiByte Awareness team. So yeah, we're really grateful for that. And of course, we have the affiliates like Tom from Crypto Bantam. That's an online store where you can buy crypto clothing. And Chris from Cryptos, where you can buy these amazing DigiByte socks. So, where do we need it for? Money is being used to do some press releases. We buy promotional materials. We have to pay for some subscription and marketing tools. And also we use them for other expenses. And one example is Aircoins. The DigiByte Awareness team have supplied the coins to Aircoins. And Aircoins is a game, it's an app where you can hunt and collect DigiByte coins in augmented reality. And I've been told that today, because of the event, there are some extra coins here in the area. So if you like this game, Aircoins, and you have your app, I'm sure you will be able to find a lot of coins today. Hold on, Jared. So how can you help DigiByte? So the DigiByte Awareness team is organized to determine and achieve the goals. But we know there are a lot of other members out there who are committed to the same cause and promote our initiatives. And we know there are a lot of people that have ideas, have questions, want to do something but don't know how to start. And yeah, therefore we have created the DigiByte Awareness Team Advocates, called the DigiBets. It's very easy to apply to that team, and in the team you can share your ideas, brainstorming. You get feedback from other members and from the core team. You get support from the core team, and eventually, if you are good, you have the skills and you have the right attitude, and you have some time available and really can accomplish something, and then eventually you can become a DigiByte member. So the link is in the bottom. So first of all, big thanks to all the members and the advocates for the DigiByte Awareness team for the time and resources they committed to help DigiByte. Also, thank you to Jared and the core team in the first place for creating this great technology and the development, where we are so passionate about, and also for your acknowledgement, endorsement, and support of the DigiByte Awareness team. And of course, your transparency and the open communication line we're having. We're almost speaking every day, so that's really helpful as well. And a big thanks to the community also for your support, your donations, and also your comments, your criticism. Everything helps, because it takes all of us to make DigiByte successful. And yeah, as you have seen what we have accomplished in 1 year, so there's no doubt in my mind that DigiByte will see a great future, a very amazing future, and very promising. Thank you very much. Oh yeah, now it's your turn now, Jan.
I'm Jan Muyldermans from Antum. I'm also a member of the DigiByte Awareness team, like Rudy told you. First, I have 3 questions for the audience. The first one is, how many people use the same password for their accounts? And I admit I did it. I did it. It's not a shame to admit. It's not a shame to admit. But the importance question of this is, it's not safe. We all know, but we do. The second question, is it a difficult password you take? Yeah. And that's why it's very important to use another way. And that way came up with DigiID. It's a great authentication process. And first of all, we decided to implement DigiID. But first of all, you need to know what Antum ID really is. I don't know what people in this room know what Antum ID is at the moment. Yeah, a few of them. Okay. What we are trying to do is we create an identity based on a validated identity. That means that you can create an identity that has been verified by the government or verified by a company or other things. And the most important thing about this is that you keep your privacy at the highest level. That's one of the major important things you need to know when you're using an Antum ID. So if I can try to go to the next slide, but it's very strange that it doesn't appear. Yeah. Yeah, I can show. Maybe they can show it from here. Yeah. No, sorry for the PowerPoint presentation, but it doesn't go to the next slide. So yeah, sorry for that. It's not. It's not that I. But I will share it for the community that you can share it between community members. So first of all, there are two types of identity with Antum ID. It's without an identity and with an identity. So what's the difference? The difference with type 1 is actually you do your authentication, but there is no linked identity to it. That's the first type. Second type is an identity that has been linked to your real identity. That's one of the major things that we have created. So I go to the next slide. Yes. What we did. You all know the DigiID implementations on different websites. Something you don't hear? Ah, okay. Okay, thank you. Yeah, okay. What we did, we took the DigiID fundamentals. It's actually the login process that was being created by the DigiByte community at its early stage. But we saw that there was, for mass adoption, it has a little weakness, and that weakness was that it has to be transferred for every single program language to use it. It has to be redesigned, recreated. So we added our own SOAP API, Antum ID API, and that enables you to use DigiID on all platforms, on all program languages, with a small workload. So that's what we did. Then we created a second type that is based on an identity. And in my own country, they have the smart card. Every citizen has a passport. That passport is a smart card. And there we are allowed to create an identity that is linked to the smart card. You link it once and you have a validated identity. So that's what we created. Okay, next slide. So I have an overview here, what the difference between what we created and what DigiByte has essentially created. So we have the DigiID free, and it remains free, of course. Like I told you, it has to be rewrite for every program languages that want to integrate it. It's now being used on DigiByte forums, and SwineMine also used the DigiID authentication project, Jared, I thought. Yeah. And now what we created the open Antum ID, and it's actually the DigiID with the SOAP protocol that we are using. It enables you to easily implement DigiID on different types of programs you want to integrate into. So then we have also the hosted solution. That's something that we offer as a company, so that people don't have to integrate things by themselves. It's just they can get support from us and get all the things done. Very easy. And then we have the full version. It's actually Antum ID that is based on the real identity, with a lot of features, synchronizing information, giving special services to allow, for example, that you want to log in for a service that needs to be 18 years old and it has to be a male. So that kind of things you can do with the Antum ID full. At this moment, you can use all the DigiID wallets that have the implementation of the BIP 39, sorry. Also, the core wallet, the mobile wallet from DigiByte can be used also, but it's not at the moment BIP 39, Jared. It's not at the moment. It's they are working on it, I think, for the DigiID.
Yes.
Yeah. So okay. So that will be also in this list. So I see the Open Antum ID has now been used by Change Angel and Crytrex. They are the two companies that are using DigiID using our hosted solutions. So, yeah, the next slide, please. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I told you. The DigiID is safe, simple, and reliable. I don't go into details in here because I got a tight schedule. It's only 15 minutes, I think. So how does it work? Some people know, some people don't know. It's just scanning your QR code, using the app, enter your PIN code, and you will see, in this case, without identity, it will return a special code in this type. It's an encrypted DigiID that has been returned. So the next time when you want to log in, it gets the same key. So that's what we did. That's the next. Then with identity, it's of course safe, simple, reliable, and all in one. It gives a solution for know your customer. If some companies are needing to know which user is logging in, they have to know some know your customer details, like address, telephone number, all the details. And also for the GDPR, because in our platform, when you're creating your Antum ID, you link your identity details, and it enables you to take full control over your own identity, your own personal information, and you have total control. You can block it on every day, every single day. You can disable the function so that nobody else can use it anymore. So this is why we created this type. Yeah, next slide. Yeah, here you can show how does it look like. You scan, it's the same. You scan the QR code, you enter your PIN, or you're using your fingerprint, and enter. And in this case, it will prompt up my personal information. So it came directly from our platform. Yep. Then how you would create it. Yeah, it's very easy, so I don't go through these steps, I think. You're just entering your details or you're linking your EID. Yeah, you can go to the next step. Yep. This one shows a full demonstration what it looked like when you integrated Antum ID into your website using the QR code, enter your details, and a form will be filled in automatically, email, address, so that you don't have to put all your details. Yeah. How can you manage it? You can manage it, your full identity in our platform. And in this case, I show you a website in Belgium is using this technology to get a work job. So you can use it for candidates who want a job. That's what we are doing with Absolute Jobs. And if you can see, you can disable the function, and if you want to log in again with the system, it will say that it's disabled so that you can't log in anymore. So you have full control over your personal information and over your login. So, yeah, next slide. Thank you. Yeah, it's all a resume of all what I told you. It can be the next. Yeah. Now, meanwhile, all the people wanted to have DigiID integrated into websites, but the problem is, yeah, they need to know first. They need to know that it exists. They need to implement it. It takes time, and it takes a lot of effort for sometimes. So we came up with an idea together with Matthew Cornelis. It's one of the DigiByte members. He created the DigiID Antum ID app. It's the same as the DigiID function in your DigiByte wallet, but it can generate passwords also. And that's a beautiful thing, because the password that you are generating with this application is always recreated. It's not stored, it's not synced, it's always recreated. So if there are users here who are using SafePass, no users with SafePass? One? or others? Password manager, LastPass. Yeah. You know, it's very good, very easy, but it's synced your information, or it's on your disk, or something like this. So but with this type of application, you don't need to store any passwords anymore. So what we did, in combination with the app, we created a plugin extension. You can download a plugin extension for Chrome, Firefox, Opera. Yesterday we got an approval from Microsoft, so that the plugin is also working in Edge browser now. And how does it work? Very easy. If you're on a website, for example, Gmail, let us say, and you want the email system that we provide, you just click on the button, and I think I have the presentation also here. So you go to the Chrome store, you type in DigiID or Antum ID, you click on the extension, you install, and it's ready for usage. Now, if you go to Facebook, for example, there is a QR code presented. You take your DigiByte wallet app, you scan the code, and it will generate a password. I show you this in this cool blue shop. Some people know it, some people don't know it, what it is. You scan it, you enter your PIN code or you're verifying with your thumbprint, and it generates a password that is unique for this password for you only. So, and then you can send the password back to the plugin, and it will automatically fill in the password for you. So you don't have to do anything by yourselves anymore, and you don't have to store your password in your browsers anymore. So that keeps it very safe. That's in meantime when the DigiID is not implemented on the websites that you are using. That's why you can keep it safe. And that's it. That was the presentation. You can ask me a lot of questions, not now, in the lobby. Feel free to ask, and it's an honor to be here. Thank you.
Okay, hi everybody. I'm Justin Seidl from Vertbase. So we want to say thank you right away to the DigiByte awareness team, the DigiByte team, and Steffy for putting on this event for us. We're excited to be the main sponsor and kind of share with you some of the things that we're working on at Vertbase, how we're working with DigiByte, and how we can kind of progress not only DigiByte, but the entire crypto industry forward as a whole. Just a little background on Vertbase. We started over a year ago, early January, and our main goal was to create a simple fiat to digital currency platform where you can instantly buy and sell digital currency with fiat. My partner Stu had joined me, and we've been working on this for over the last year. We started with the US dollar and really focused on being a very low barrier of entry for digital currency for beginners and intermediaries, reducing the complexities of jumping on a market exchange, looking through the charts, and trying to place a buy or sell order. Let's go back one sec. So like I mentioned, we are pushing the industry forward. We realized early on that one of our core values is focusing on the communities and the projects that we have listed on our platform, and giving back to those projects and making sure that we support them in any way possible, whether that's being donations, giving them support, visibility into what they're doing, and really pushing forward some of the applications that they're utilizing themselves to kind of show off to the world what some of these capabilities can do. We have given back to the DigiByte community a few times, and this event is one of those times where we're really trying to kind of help spread the word of what DigiByte's doing. As I mentioned, we do currently offer a US dollar to DigiByte pairing. It is our highest volume trading pair on the platform right now. We currently only offer the ability to buy. When we first launched, the market was in a bear market. Nobody was looking to sell at all, but we are planning to re-enable sells on May 1st of this month, coming month. So you will be able to buy and sell DigiByte on the Vertbase platform May 1st. Some of the other things that we're working on, we're very interested in the Digi Asset platform and being able to integrate that not only with our platform, but with third-party partners, wallets, and we have a couple of use cases that we're exploring that we hope to shed a little bit more light on in the coming future. On top of that, some of the things that we're really focused on are cultivating current and new relationships with some of the individuals and companies around this table, but also individuals in this room and around the world. We really want to support the community as a whole, just kind of progress forward with adoption, and some of the partners that we have outlined right now. We're starting to work with Adam Wolf over at DigiCafe. In order to spread that mass adoption, we believe merchants are that next step, and making sure that you can use DigiByte in everyday transactions in everyday life. But the biggest hurdle for merchants are the fiat settlements. So partnering with somebody like DigiCafe, they can accept the digital currency, and we can partner with them and help them settle out those transactions immediately with fiat for their merchants. We're also continuing to work with the DigiByte awareness team as much as we possibly can to spread the word. And then, as I mentioned, with Digi Assets in the near future, we have a few applications that we want to work on with Digi Assets, and so partnering with that to kind of bring forward those ideas. And then what we're really excited about, so we have a roadmap of things that we're kind of progressing forward to. We are working on a slight brand identity tweak, and a new website will be redesigned and launched in the next month. We also are coming out with our own wallet. This wallet will be non-custodial. Part of our core value at Vertbase is that we are non-custodial. We never want to hold your funds. We want you to be your own bank. We want you to have complete control of your funds. But we are working on a non-custodial solution that will have direct instant buy and sell integration baked in, as well as having the ability to use assets within the wallet as well. And what I was alluding to, our biggest announcement is the introduction of the GBP and Euro fiat pairings. So we have been securing that for the last couple of months, and we will be launching GBP and Euro on May 1st of this year. We will be only launching to the following 5 countries: the United Kingdom, Austria, Germany, Slovenia, and Spain. We will be bringing out the rest of Europe mid-September. It's kind of contingent on some of the open banking APIs that they're rolling out and introducing, but we're very excited to bring on GBP and Euro, and we'll continue our efforts to bring on additional fiat currencies after we roll out those currencies. That's everything I had to say. I want to say thank you again to everybody here, everybody supporting the community, everybody that supported us. We want to continue forward with doing as much as we possibly can to bring mass adoption and bring DigiByte to the people that want to bring on digital currency. Thank you.
So let's get started then. So we have DigiByte and Dandelion. Now that we've gone and done that, let's start off with a little something here. Good morning, my DigiByte. No, wait, that's not my line. Let's try this again. What's good? No, that's not me either, so. How about I start off by introducing myself. My name is Josiah. I'm also known as Chilling Silence, and this talk is going to be about how Dandelion improves your privacy on DigiByte. So before I begin, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the following disclaimer. I'm going to be making some analogies here, and I'm going to be simplifying things significantly. Now, while I will do my best to remain as technically accurate as possible, this is all done specifically so that we don't have to spend an hour here explaining the many dark and deep intricacies of the DigiByte blockchain and how it all works. Please also forgive me, it's 1 a.m. here in New Zealand, and I've been rather ill today, so excuse me if I do need to clear my throat. So, let's get stuck straight into this. So why do you want Dandelion, and why are we bringing it to DigiByte? So you have DigiBytes, presumably because you are here at the DigiByte Global Summit, or specifically there at the DigiByte Global Summit. Now, when you make a transaction, this is broadcast out to the whole network, and your IP address is part of the information that is included with this. Now, using some special techniques, people can track down where you are, or at least the location of the server that made the transaction with a moderate amount of certainty at the moment. You might have a couple of DigiByte, you might have a couple of million DigiByte, but the point is you don't really want to have somebody rock up to your house and say, I know that you've got 5 DigiBytes, so I want you to hand it over, or I'll egg your house, because nobody likes it when their house gets egged. So I'm going to explain a little bit about how things work currently, why it's not quite ideal, existing or alternative solutions, and then why DigiByte is going to be using Dandelion. So currently the DigiByte network uses the same method of broadcasting a transaction to the mempool as Bitcoin does. Now this is known as diffusion. Let's say you are Alice and you're wanting to send Bernard some DigiByte. Even before the transaction is included into a block, you broadcast it out to everybody on the network that you know, that you are connected to at the time. They then broadcast it out to everyone that they're connected to, and so on, filling up what's called the mempool. This is basically a list of pending transactions. Now, it's important that you know what the mempool is, because this is what is going to make Dandelion different. And this is why you'll also see me having so many rants on Twitter about Litecoin and the likes using zero-conf transactions in retail. It's not a good idea. Now, roughly every 15 seconds, the miners take all of the transactions that are in the mempool and they put them into a block. Hence why this is known as a blockchain. So one of the miners will get a reward for finding the answer to the math problem. This is known as the nonce. And the miner then tells everybody, okay, here's the block and here is all of the transactions in it. Now, when your node or your wallet receives this block, your wallet effectively says, sweet, I've got all of these transactions in my local copy of the mempool over here. I'm going to take them out. And now we've only got a couple of them left, and these will presumably be included in the next block. Your wallet sounds a lot like it has a bit of Kiwi slang as it thinks. So now, all of this works brilliantly, except sometimes people are nosy. Sometimes people don't have your best interests at heart. Now, a nosy attacker could have a bunch of eavesdropping nodes out there at a relatively low cost to them. And imagine that this malicious person runs the nodes that you can see that are highlighted. This is all hypothetical, of course, but with enough nodes, they could roughly enough work out the time difference between one of the nodes receiving the transaction in their mempool, the other receiving it, and then use some complex mathematics to find the origin, oftentimes with enough certainty that you could argue that it's problematic. Now, in fact, there's actually been a whole bunch of academic research done on this, not just in Bitcoin transactions, but about data transmission in general. You see, we don't want people to be able to physically track you down and take your DigiByte. Now, this is why we are implementing Dandelion. So there are other blockchains out there, such as Verge and Monero, that have taken slightly different approaches. And so I'll briefly explain those to you now. So Monero uses the I2P protocol. Now this is good, but it requires a lot of really deep integration into the wallet, like a lot. It's got its limitations, but overall it's actually pretty good. but it makes integrating with their wallet rather difficult. Now, Verge, on the other hand, uses Tor, or the Onion Network. Now, Tor is also lightly integrated into the main Bitcoin and DigiByte core clients, but this is more of a next-level integration, and again, it can be a real pain for third-party wallets or platforms integrating it. There's also other limitations to the Tor protocol, although that is being improved upon, and Verge are implementing these new changes. But again, this all comes back to massive amounts of dev time, upkeep, technical debt, and other fancy words that I can spout off that will help convince you that we're doing the right thing here with Dandelion. So DigiByte is going to go with Dandelion for a bunch of reasons. Now, the first is that this is 100% backwards compatible with all of the other nodes in the older versions. The older ones basically don't know any different, and they're completely unaffected by this upgrade. Now, Dandelion also doesn't affect the standard UTXO protocol, means that we are still perfect for digital assets and the likes. You can optionally turn this off or on, depending on if you want the faster speed, or if you would prefer the enhanced protection that this offers. It's also not going to give us a huge amount of technical debt, and Dandelion is also not going to slow down our 15-second block time, so we're still going to be lightning fast. This also still offers good protection while tying it in with the existing Tor support inside the DigiByte core wallet if you want. So, how does it work then? Well, Dandelion is a transaction transmission method currently implemented in about 3 other blockchains as far as I'm aware. We have Grin, Beam, and Zcoin. Now, there are people pushing for this to also become part of Bitcoin Core eventually as well. So Dandelion works a little differently than the traditional diffusion method of broadcasting your transaction. We'll use Alice and we'll use Bernard as an example again. So your wallet will start by making a transaction that you want to send, and they will mark it as a Dandelion specific transaction. You start kind of creating a stem, sort of just like the flower, broadcasting your transaction to just one other individual person. Now, the stem creation is effectively the privacy phase of this all. Now, that one person you've sent it to, they then send it on to one other person, who then sends it on to one other person as well. And this all happens without telling anybody along the way how many hops it's already been through. This is very important because this is what helps protect the privacy of the original sender. Now, if at any time your transaction comes across a non-Dandelion supporting node, as it is growing the stem, it will just simply flower and disperse the transaction immediately, just like it would traditionally. So how does Dandelion know when to stop making the stem if it doesn't know how many hops it's been on already? Each time your transaction reaches a new node, it does what is effectively a coin flip. So picture you're flipping a coin and you have to get tails 3 times in a row. On a heads flip, Dandelion will stop flipping the coin and it will continue to add to the stem, and so we can see here you'll kind of go up the stem. However, by the time you get your 3rd tails in a row, it flowers or it fluffs the transaction and begins to broadcast it to everyone as it would with the traditional dispersion method. So, by doing this and by implementing Dandelion, you very effectively reduce the ability for nosy eavesdroppers to trace the source of the transmission, keeping you and your DigiByte more secure. So this is great, but what are the downsides to this? Well, the downside is that zero confirmation transactions for Dandelion enabled are going to take a little bit longer to reach the destination. Now, naturally, you don't have to use Dandelion if you're out on your cell phone and you want to pay for your coffee in a hurry. However, it means that the videos where you see your wallet sending from one wallet, showing up to the other in under 2 seconds, that doesn't occur for Dandelion-specific transactions. It takes a little bit longer. However, this is a good thing because people shouldn't be trusting a zero confirmation transaction regardless. I go into this a little bit in some of my Medium articles if you're curious for later reading. Dandelion also doesn't play nice with RBF, which is replaced by fee, which is the controversial Bitcoin improvement that DigiByte doesn't actually need at all, but we've kind of just inherited it from the upstream code. Now, replaced by fee was the cause of the Bitcoin ATM robberies a couple of months ago, so RBF is out as well. And let's be honest, it's really only needed for blockchains with smaller transaction processing capacities like Bitcoin or Litecoin anyway, so to be honest, we're not really going to miss it. Now, Dandelion also takes a bit of work to implement it. But thankfully, our lead iOS developer, Yoshi Jaeger, has managed to do 90% of the implementation into the DigiByte Core wallet pretty quickly already. I've been doing a lot of testing with he and Mental Collapse and a few others to get this tidied up and ready for either another 6.17 release or the 7.17 release of DigiByte Core. Now, this is progressing very nicely. So although there are a few downsides, they're not major at all. They're barely even minor. And in fact, they're not really problems. So it's beneficial and it keeps the users safe and it keeps them secure. That's the goal here, keeping you and your DigiByte more secure. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show a video. Now this is an even less technical video that I've been working on with Amon Unlimited, also known as the DigiByte Unlimited Network now on YouTube, that Rudy mentioned earlier. So we can use this video to explain to the masses in under 60 seconds why Dandelion on DigiByte is a good thing.
What is Dandelion? Dandelion is coming to DigiByte as a way to help boost your privacy and prevent a malicious person from tracking down your location by using your IP address. When you send DigiByte to somebody, Dandelion technology won't broadcast your transaction to everybody, like traditional blockchains would. Instead, Dandelion will create a stem and send your transaction through just one single person. That one person will do the same to another person and another. This helps to protect your IP address and prevent tracking. Once it's been through around 10 people, Dandelion will then flower the DigiByte transaction and blow it off into the world so it can be included in the blockchain, just like blowing a dandelion. There's no slowing down DigiByte's insanely fast block timings. It's just one more layer of privacy on your transaction to help protect you as you use DigiByte. Dandelion, coming soon to DigiByte. Please take a look at the other commercials to learn more about DigiID, DigiAssets, and the many other projects we have.
Okay, that was brilliant. Now we have Marnix that will explain more about VID.
Hi everyone, I'm Marnix. I'm one of the co-founders of VID. I'd like to thank Steffi first, Rudy, Jared. Amazing opportunity. Great setting here in Amsterdam. Lovely. This is Joshua, my new business developer. Very proud of him. And Pim, our lead concept designer. I'm going to keep it short. I'll give the mic to Josh. Sit down and press enter. Quite a challenge. And Josh, have a good one. Thank you for everyone.
Thank you, Marnix. Thank you, guys. I'm going to do a quick presentation about what VID is. What we figured is that with the new form of digitization, there's a lot of new forms of fraud as well. So what we built is a new platform that is made to prevent digital fraud by validating and verifying digital assets in the blockchain. It is our mission to make sure that all digital fraud is prevented and that we, keep everybody secure and safe. The process is a two-step process. It's very simple. We take a digital fingerprint of a file, of a digital asset, and we store it in the blockchain so that you can verify it in the blockchain as well to make sure that it's the original one and it hasn't been tampered with. The service is GDPR compliant as well, important for the European people out here as well. It's a big thing. We store the digital fingerprint in multiple blockchains. As you can see on the screen, it's Bitcoin, Ethereum, we have Hyperledger, LTO, and most importantly, of course, DigiByte, which is a great thing, We can secure in different blockchains to make sure that the fingerprint is also, secure. We have a few clients and partners on the screen. Actually, we didn't have enough room to, put everyone on there. There's quite a few more. We're growing insanely fast, and we hope that together with DigiByte's community, we can also expand our partnerships even further. As you can see, we have many use cases. I can just keep rattling on about all the cases, so I'll let you guys think about it yourself. But we have a really fun one to show you right now, and I think I want to invite Pim talk about that a little bit even more. Thank you, guys.
Hi, everyone. So, yes, authenticity and securing it, that's what we do at VID. Things like certificates, diplomas, invoices, research results, anything digital. We use DigiByte as well for that. But I'm talking about digital stuff here. What about physical stuff? What about objects? Now, in what space is the authenticity of objects really, really important? Perhaps the most important thing. Art, perhaps. I want to show you a little clip of our first step into the physical world. What can I say more about it? Yes, we used the Bitcoin blockchain, Ethereum, LTO network, and yes, DigiByte. So, have fun watching it. Thanks.
Every culture has its own rituals, tastes, skills that live in the collective consciousness of people. A binding force rooted in family, friends and traditions. And as it shifts ever so slowly, sprouting subcultures, branching off, always in motion through the centuries, it mirrors our sense of beauty, our fears and our wonders. Along this path stand its milestones in the form of art, signs of spiritual progress, mementos that show us who we were, who we are, and who we will be. Art is like the time capsule of a culture. It is the most authentic record of our spirit. And it is this authenticity we need to preserve. During Holland's golden age in the 17th century, Amsterdam was the center of trade, science, and art. This period brought forth many masters like Johannes Vermeer, Frans Hals, and Rembrandt van Rijn. Rembrandt's pieces remain of great importance today, as his signature high-contrast compositions are admired still by art lovers from all over the world. Now, for the first time, VID's validation platform, known for securing digital files against manipulation, extends its activities into the physical world by validating Rembrandt's Virgin and Child in the Clouds. An original etch dated 1641, signed Rembrandt F. The Virgin and Child in the Clouds is a remarkably well-conserved piece with a Catholic theme. In collaboration with Douwers Fine Art, Amsterdam's highly renowned art dealer, established in 1770, and CMS Law, one of the largest law firms in the world, VID developed a method to secure every unique characteristic of this piece of our heritage onto the blockchain. First, art expert and registered appraiser Evert Douwers was recorded on video as he stood by the work and pointed out notable features unique to this piece. Next, a series of macro photographs were shot catching every line, fiber, and mark of the entire visible surface. Lastly, Douwers Fine Art issued a digital certificate listing sizes, materials, and origin of the work. Evert Anthony Douwers was appointed as validator. Notary Femke Strauken from CMS Law was present as a witness, to confirm the source of the photographs and the facts stated in the certificate. After she confirmed the validator's identity, Mr. Dowers logged in on the validation portal and validated the file. Now that it is validated, the validation file's digital fingerprint is saved on hundreds of thousands of nodes on 4 separate blockchains, indefinitely. Any recipient of the file can check its integrity in 5 seconds and compare the recorded evidence to visually confirm the authenticity of this piece of our heritage. Art is the time capsule of a culture. VID secures its authenticity.
Thanks for that. Yeah, I couldn't wish for a more cool or stylish entrance into the physical world. It's a big step for us. There's many things ahead together with DigiByte. The art world is one thing that we're going to hopefully shake up. We're already having talks with Evert Anthony. That was he's the 8th generation in the art dealership. He's right there. And thanks for everything, of course. CMS Law, thanks to Femke Strauken. Other physical things, well, museum pieces, evidence. There's lots to discover here. So it's going to be a very, well, awesome year again, I guess. Perhaps with digital, with digi-assets as well, and we're going to talk about it, no doubt, to go about integrate all that stuff, all the good things that bring forth better adaptation with the lowest as possible barrier for entry of mainstream corporate businesses. So, thanks. This was our conclusion. Oh, yeah, I'll give it over to you.
This is the digital file, which we made together with Dowers. And when a file has a stamp like this, you know, we stamped it and it's authentic. And if you then go online to our website or the website of the publisher, and you see this little widget, you can then select the file you received, check it, and then it will check with several blockchain nodes, see if it's verified. Yes, this is still authentic. And then you see the publisher's logo, some information, and the blockchains where it has been added to. And then here for you, of course, the DigiByte blockchain. When you click, you can check the transaction, and you can see the hash of the file right here. So that's the visual check. Okay, so now I'm going to stop. Maybe we're talking too long already. Was a bit technical so far, but let's go for adoption right now, and I'd like to give the word back to Stefanie. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Marnix. I think that was a great insight, and obviously we see the massive potential in the arts, but also, you know, we were talking before about diamonds, for example. We were talking about counterfeit and fashion. We were talking also about food and potentially, you know, the challenge to incorporate, you know, an ID into, for instance, organic food. And I mean, that could be really a game-changing. Yeah, but that's the future, I think. So I'm handing over to Jared now.
Over the years, DigiByte, like I talked about earlier, has actually done a series of hard forks. This is the first time we're going to do what we're calling an algo fork. So this presentation is going to be about the upcoming UdoCrypt change, which we're calling version 7.17.1 will be the next upcoming major change for DigiByte. So originally, DigiByte started in 2014 with a single mining algorithm. But later in 2014, we actually were the first ever blockchain that hard forked to 5 mining algorithms. And the original idea was that if we can allow, because I myself started as a Bitcoin miner with my gaming PC back in 2012, if we could have a majority of desktop gamers with GPUs mining from home, we would have a super decentralized network. And that worked for the first couple years. So for the first couple years, Script, Skeen, Grossel were heavily dominated by GPU miners. SHA-256 we included because we thought, hey, you know, there's all these obsolete Bitcoin miners. We can provide a use for them, right, in a secondary home and, you know, secure our network. Well, that was the original intent. And you know, it's worked for a few years, but with technology, you know, you have to continually improve. So how did those 5 mining algorithms actually kind of stay in check and be proportionally weighted? Well, that's actually where DigiShield came in. So DigiShield is like what I talked about earlier. It's been implemented in a lot of different projects, but we took it from, instead of applying it to a single mining algorithm, we split it across 5 mining algorithms. So after every block in the DigiByte blockchain, there's a real-time difficulty adjustment and weighting, right? And that's actually very unique. And it's one of those things where over the years, we've had people like, well, how is it secure? And it's one of those things you're like, well, it's very secure, but to give you the specific math, I just flat out don't know. It's like when an AI comes up with a solution and you try and explain it, you're like, I know it arrived at the solution and I know it, you know, it does it. But we actually have had some independent scientific verification on just how secure it is. And that data will be published here in the near future. But their conclusion was basically if you took and you rented all the available mining hash power in the world that's actually available on markets as of February 2019, at most you could cause a 15-block reorg on the DigiByte blockchain. So if you ever wondered why a lot of exchanges have like a 20 confirmation limit, that's basically why, and that's pretty sound. And you're talking at that point, you know, maybe 5 minutes, 5-10 minutes, right? If you took all the available Bitcoin mining power, at most, so this means the entire Bitcoin blockchain would freeze because every miner from China to Europe to the United States would basically stop mining Bitcoin. At most, you could potentially get a 50-block reorg. So what that really means is DigiByte is the most 51% attack-resistant blockchain in the world today. And like I said, the math, it's some of the most confusing math I've ever looked at. It's going to be published here in the near future. So now, what is the current state of DigiByte mining? So like I said, originally we had this idea because the reason we want to keep it as decentralized as possible so individuals like yourselves can secure Rembrandt, right? It's pretty fascinating, but that only works when you have a truly decentralized blockchain. So what's happened over the last, especially since the major run-up in 2017 and 2018, is there's been ASIC miners developed in secret. Obviously, there's a lot of profit incentive. And for those that don't, how many people know what an ASIC is? Okay, so a few people. So what an ASIC is, it stands for Advanced Systems Integrated Circuit. And it's a specially designed computer chip that really only does one thing. So, you know, when Bitcoin started, people literally mined it with a laptop or a desktop. But as time went on, they developed these special integrated circuits. Now, these ASICs are only good for one thing, and that's basically mining SHA-256 in the case of Bitcoin, and also one of the 5 algos of DigiByte, right? Anything else, it's basically a boat anchor or a doorstop. So it computationally can't do much else. So what's happened is on DigiByte, GPU miners are no longer a majority. So you have these ASIC farms that are kind of taking over and centralizing stuff. Every algorithm in the cryptocurrency space at this point in time has ASICs, or at least any prominent one, and they can be built for it. Don't let anybody fool you. If you create an algorithm that's a specific single type of hash, at some point or another, you can build an ASIC for it. Now, what this is leading to is it's leading to centralization and a decrease in the global DigiByte node count, which we don't want. So what is the solution? Well, the solution is what we're calling UdoCrypt. How many people in here are Star Trek fans? Okay. So Udo is the shapeshifter on Star Trek. So what we're proposing doing is swapping one of DigiByte's 5 algorithms, in this case, myriad Grossel, which we've had issues with since day one. And what it does is actually, this algorithm is very unique in the fact that it changes itself every 10 days to a completely new randomized algorithm. So what that really means is it's no longer cost effective to create ASICs. So you could, in theory, still create one, but it doesn't really make any sense because it'd be obsolete in 10 days. So the idea here is that we can further incentivize decentralization of the network. We can incentivize home miners, and it decreases the barrier to entry because you're looking at a piece of hardware that costs as little as $150. So this algorithm's actually been in development for over a year. We've been testing it for quite some time. And it was actually developed by an anonymous contributor to DigiByte that goes by the name of Mental Collats. I've been talking to Mental Collats since 2014. Some of the most brilliant code that I've ever seen has been written by him and submitted anonymously. So to this day, I still don't know who he actually is, but I know he does good work and it's open source and it's brilliant. So this was his description of Udecrypt. And keep in mind, I do know he has a background in mathematics and cryptography. So Udo is a substitution permutation network, both the substitution S boxes and P boxes, and this is the foundation for most cryptographic algorithms, basically change every 10 days. If they didn't change, it would be easy to create an ASIC that significantly outperformed any other hardware, because that's the whole point of ASICs, is to do a specific thing over and over again, millions, thousands of times. That ASIC would need to be able to reconfigure itself. There's already hardware for that specializes in being able to reconfigure itself, and that's the FPGA. FPGAs are really good at implementing small S boxes. While an ASIC could in theory be built, the advantage over FPGAs would be much smaller for the typical proof of work algorithms. So this code has been out there. If anybody wants to check it out, you go to the DigiByte GitHub repository, switch to branch 7.17.1, go into the source folder, the cryptography folder, look at Udecrypt, and you can actually see the mathematics. And it's definitely one of the most complex things that I've ever went through. It took me 2 days just to even wrap my mind around what's actually happening in it. So it's fantastic. So this is what an FPGA looks like. You basically plug it into a Windows computer. FPGA basically stands for Field Programmable Graphics Array. And FPGAs are actually used to basically prototype almost everything that we know in terms of like microcontrollers, different systems, and you basically are able to program the logic gates to do whatever you want it to. So one of the other things that Mental Collats has actually developed is some software, because if we're going to do this and we're going to basically create an algo fork, we want to make sure that everybody has an equal playing field when the fork actually occurs. So there's actually going to be guides, there's software. We've ran this test through testnet several times already. And what we're looking at is we almost have it ready to go. I don't want to give an official deadline right now, but here in the near future, we're going to be releasing this. After release, we're looking at about 3 to 6 months for it to activate after a 70% activation threshold. And basically, we're going to further secure DigiByte and help decentralize the network. So now we go on to another exciting topic, and that's DigiAssets. So I know we've been talking a lot about it. I know a lot of people have been very excited. I know there's a lot of people looking to build stuff on top of it. So I want to talk about what it is. A simple introduction. If you imagine an Oreo, right, and the bottom of the Oreo, so the Oreo is the blockchain, right? So at the bottom you have what we call the core communications layer, which is actually how these nodes are communicating back and forth. And that's why we're so excited about Dandelion, because it's going to improve the privacy and security of that layer, right? Now, how do you incentivize people to run these nodes? And what we mean by nodes is just simply a server or a laptop that's running the full version of DigiByte, right? And it has an exact copy of the entire blockchain. So how do we incentivize that? Well, that's where DigiByte as a digital asset, traded on 100 exchanges comes in, right? And that's where miners get rewarded for participating and helping secure the network. And once you have all that, you can really start to do some amazing, cool stuff. And that's where DigiAssets comes in at this top applications layer. So now what can you do with that? Well, obviously this amazing presentation by VID, I mean, that blew my mind, because it's like, that's one of the possibilities. We're preserving our legacy. So whether it's artwork, whether it's documents like a will, a contract, a deed, videos, music, concert tickets, you name it, you know, IoT data from IoT sensors. Anything can be a digital asset, right? So what DigiAssets really is it's securing the future Internet of Value, right? And being able, you know, from here in Holland, you know, potentially I could buy a piece of real estate back in Texas, right? You know, that's one of the things I'm working on. So, you know, it's a very exciting time. So how does this actual ecosystem work? I'll put these slide decks online so people can look at this a little bit more. We're doing more write-ups. I know this looks a little bit confusing, but basically there's 4 main pieces here, right? You have the underlying blockchain, which everything anchors into. You have this central DigiAssets public repository and the tech stack that anybody can use. It's actually fully functioning. I'm going to do a demo here in a little bit. And then we have a testnet, which we actually want to get people building and trying things on testnet. And then this entire stuff can be white labeled and put into a private app or a private application, right? So, for instance, if you wanted to build your app, whatever your app might be, this is an example architecture of how this would actually work. You have your actual, you know, basically your mobile app. It ties into your API that ties into a series of basically DigiAssets stack that's all open source, and it's actually ready to go. And you can find more on, if you go to github.com /DigiByte-core, as you can see here, there's over 63 repositories, and that's a combination of tons of different stuff. So for those people that say, oh, DigiByte's not active, well, just if you look at the single repository on the DigiByte account, like, we're still updating that all the time, but we have several active developers that are working on different things. So that's where you actually find all this information in the actual code for where this is. So how are the first DigiAssets going to be like issued and created? Well, we have something we're calling DigiVault, which I'm actually going to boot up here in a second and actually use. And I'm actually going to create the very first DigiByte DigiAsset. And what that's going to be is we're going to call it and create the DigiTorch. But we're also going to do something that's a little bit different, unexpected, and I don't think anybody knows. We're going to create the DigiFlame, which is ignited by the DigiTorch that goes through the community here. So, So I'm going through and I'm creating an asset. We're going to do one because obviously it's a single unit. We're going to give it an image here. And one of the cool things about this asset is we actually have the ability to verify with social media. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to issue this. Hopefully the network doesn't block it. Boom. So what just happened is that was the world's first DigiAsset. And that is on its way around the world. So we're going to issue another asset, and we're going to call this the DigiFlame. Exciting, right? Yeah. So what's actually happening is you're actually embedding, so on the DigiByte wallet here, so as you see, there's actually a tiny transaction that just occurred, and then just another one just now. So what you're doing, so the internet itself today was originally pioneered by something we know as TCP/IP, right? It was developed by the US Department of Defense back in the 60s, transmission control packets, and it sends these tiny amounts of data. Well, you know, it was beautiful because you can communicate at long distances, which was the first time it happened, but it was very limited in its scope. So we've been able to send DigiByte transactions for years now, right? But representing this additional layer of value and additional layer of like creativity or whatever you want to put in it hasn't really been possible until now, because DigiAssets is actually a protocol. Just like when HTTP came along in the early 90s and allowed for the internet to be created as we know it today. So that's a very good analogy, kind of what we're doing here. So what we're doing is we're sending a very tiny transaction with this appended metadata, and it basically gets decrypted and decoded in a specific way that can be identified as a DigiAsset. So one of the cool things here, if I actually go to the DigiByte Block Explorer, so anyone following around online right now can actually go see the DigiFlame on the Digi Explorer. So if you see this issuance, 1, and then we come in here and it says the output contains the following DigiAssets. So this will forever be recorded worldwide. So very cool stuff. So if I come back here to Digi Explorer, I can actually see the DigiTorch. So as this torch gets passed from person to person to person, we're going to be able to transfer that or watch that in real time. So now that we have these assets, this is actually the DigiFlame right here. Remember, this just got released, so forgive the image not showing up right now. But what good is an asset if you don't pass it? So what I would like to do here is I would actually like to pass the DigiFlame on to an individual who has been very upstanding and amazing, not only for DigiByte, but I know that everybody around him and everybody he interacts with on a daily basis really looks up to him. So I want to, the DigiFlame is designed to be passed from community member to community member. So I would like to pass it to Rudy. And so I have Rudy's address right here. And this will be the first ever transfer of a DigiAsset. So I'm going to send the torch because I have one available. I'm going to paste his address. And I'm going to send this on. And congratulations, you've successfully sent the asset. So if I come on here. And now Rudy can pass that to whoever he sees fit. Now I have one last asset in here, which is the DigiTorch. So I don't know if we actually have. We tried at the last minute to get a real torch. So obviously we missed the flame part, but just imagine the fire of DigiByte right here. So we want to pass this on, and who we'd like to pass this. So what we decided with the DigiTorch is we want to pass this from real project to real project that's building a real-world commercial application using DigiAssets. So I've been privileged to work with the Block 30 Labs team, and they're doing some amazing stuff out of San Diego. And so we want to pass the DigiTorch to Block 30 Labs. Yeah. And, you know, they can hold on to it. We kind of look like, you know, kind of treat it like the Stanley Cup a little bit. You know, they can hold on to a little bit, and then when another project, you know, starts building on DigiAssets, you know, we would ask them to pass that on. So let me actually send the DigiTorch off here. So I have their address. So as you can see, it just updated. I only have one asset left, which is the DigiTorch. So I'm going to send that. And once again, anybody that's listening in can follow this live on the Digi Explorer. So I'm going to paste this address, and I am going to send off the DigiTorch. And there it goes. And you can see live. It's unconfirmed, so it needs just a second. But as you can see here, there's a transfer that was just initiated. There's the transfer of the DigiFlame. And as you can see here, with the DigiFlame, there's 2 address holders. So as the DigiFlame gets passed around the world, you can actually watch it. So with that, I would like to turn this over, since we just issued the DigiTorch, the DigiTorch to Block 30 Labs. I'd like to turn this over to Brian, and he can explain what exactly they're working on.
Okay, this is our video, you guys. Here we go. Block 30 Labs, we're here from California. Thank you so much. We're really excited to be here. Obviously, it's a really great honor to have had the announcement with Jared today that we'll be the first project launching on the newly created DGB Assets or Digi Assets platform. So that's a huge honor for us. We take it very seriously. A lot of what you don't see, you know, we're kind of the final mile guys that come in at the end after the technology's built and get it out into that final layer of consumers and merchants around the world. So you don't see on purpose the years of work that goes into building something like DigiByte, starting with Jared, many others around the table from countries around the world. So for us, it's the fun and the easy part to get to take that decentralized technology and package it up in really simple ways for the customer or for the merchant or for the investor. So we are hugely thankful for and appreciative of all the work that's gone into DigiByte for the last 3, 5, you know, however many years that you all have been working on it. You know, with Jared, it's, you know, I was asking him at the pub the other night, how long have you been doing this? And he's like, dude, I lived in Asia for like a couple of years, living in like sort of just like a small apartment, grinding away on DigiByte. And that's, you know, you start getting around the United Nations table here in Amsterdam and, you know, live feeds, and you're like, oh, it's, you know, it's so easy, just push a button. But I guarantee you, like, the amount of work that has gone into building the DigiByte blockchain and all the pieces that go along with that are incredible and highly valued by us. Anyway, so thank you for that. But now it's our job to try to be that final mile piece, like I said, where we come in, we try to package this up in the same ways that the credit card guys did, you know, 30, 40 years ago. They're walking into merchant windows going, you know, this paper bill is going to be this plastic card with a strip on it, and these stickers are going to go on your windows, and the merchant's like, just give me like my native fiat and go. So there's definitely a lag time to these things, and we want to try to be expediters of that. So So the slide that I like to start out with, I was just thinking about this the other night. There's Jared. Right? It's like, you know, that is now a $1 trillion company, you know, with an empire in the Pacific Northwest and many other countries around the world. But it starts here with ugly stained carpet and a janky monitor or 3 and a bunch of, you know, wires and cords and stuff. And a guy, you know, who's probably being ready to be misunderstood for 5 to 10 years before his technology gets out into the market. So as he and she build these things, it's really important for us, I think, to know that we're very, very early. We're in the 1% of folks that have bought, sold, interacted, invested with this type of technology. So in the same way that these folks said, the internet's going to be different, it's not just going to be an update to the fax machine. We're thinking that too with the blockchain and how disintermediated it can be, and how much economic autonomy it can build around countries and across borders. So we're extremely excited about trying to harness that back and give it some packaging that people will be able to understand, touch, feel, because once they do, it's on. So we're really excited about that. So why DigiByte? So as you heard just now with the global announcement, we'll be the first project to kind of formally launch on top of DGB Assets. We selected it across a whole number of matrix decisions. So speed, security, scalability, reliability, distribution, decentralization, low fees, and finally community, which you see here today. There's some empty chairs behind us, but there's a whole full section back there, which is awesome and great to see. And I know people are in from countries around the world. Guys that I couldn't wait to meet here today, you know, that we've met on Twitter and stuff like that, where it's like, oh, you're from England, you're from Germany. So it's really cool. You have a friend everywhere you go with DigiByte. This is our team. This is just a picture we took the other day at our little WeWork office down in San Diego. So we're a lot of countries and languages and you know, brought together by a singular mission of trying to get blockchain technology into the hands of people that want to start trying to use it, understand it. So we're very focused in that sense. We've been a small, self-funded group for the last probably about 18 months. I met Jared almost a year ago. We were speaking together on a conference. During that time, we were in the process of trying to invent the Block 30 index, which is now out today. It's a multi-factor index that we were trying to give some shape to the market. We were really optimistic about what crypto and what blockchain technology could do for people, but we were disheartened by the fact that pundits were getting on the drive-by media saying, no shape, no fundamentals, will never work. Well, if you look at man-made markets over time, I mean, whether it was the 29 crash or the 90s internet crash or Bitcoin in 1718, they always go through these plateau cycles of the technology hype cycle, and then out of those ashes comes the Phoenix-type companies and the Phoenix-type applications that really have legacy staying power. And that's what we hope to be, is Wave 2 folks that learn from Wave 1 pioneers of the space, and trying to be that connective tissue between the original folks from Wave 1 that built this, and then moving it forward into the next wave of really sustainable businesses on top of the application layer. So that's the function of Block 30 Labs. And I think we have the team to do it. You know, I'm highly honored by the fact that we have people on our unit that, you know, are working with Apple, Dell, Lexus, Royal Caribbean as brands, to help get them out into, like I said, that, you know, over 7 billion people and 50 million merchant windows. And that's our goal now with blockchain technology. So we went out and got best of breed in every single zone. We call it a jockey for each horse. So we have guys that have rung the bell on the NASDAQ and the NYSE and Ryan Ballantyne. We have guys like Jeff that have scaled multi-million-dollar companies and are teaching at universities in the United States. We have Mark Grado, who does the branding and optics for some of the top brands in the world in consumer electronics and technology. So we just have an amazing team of people, many of whom are working at their cost, and for some upcoming tokens that we'll talk about as we move forward. But it's a true crypto project in that sense. And we're also all holders of DigiByte, so and we love it. So here are some clients and partners from our work history, just names you would know, and we want to try to get crypto out of the shadows and into the next wave of the internet, which we really see as 3.0. And it would be a shame if mega tech and collectivist tech, same 5 big companies in the United States, if they own Web 3.0, Web 3.0 will have not realized its vision of decentralization and data security and privacy and economic autonomy. So you have a system in the United States where 84% of the stocks are held by 10% of the wallets. And you cannot build nations on that. You can't build generational continuity on that financially. So our goal with helping get blockchain into wallets around the world is to ensure that we have wealth spread and generational cohesiveness in terms of how we build our planet together economically. And it's really important. I mean, so we're an extremely mission-driven company in that sense. So the 3 ways that we're going to package up blockchain technology for consumers and merchants is give them the ability to buy, sell, and invest on the blockchain. Kind of the 3 things you need to do, the core pillars of what you need to do economically to be viable in the world. And so on our marketplace, we'll give people the ability to use DGB assets in very functional ways, whether that's a high-end piece of art or a fractionalized portion of real estate in Idaho. You know, these sorts of things, concert tickets, a restored Ford Bronco, you know, these kinds of things where you say, okay, this has economic utility, but it's also a shared function of something that a global buyer or a seller or a global maker or creator or a global consumer and a global audience will be able to connect with one another in a more secure and binary way. And we're really excited to try to bring that value to the global marketplace. You've seen it with an Alibaba or an Amazon on top of the internet layer, but it's t-shirts and pacifiers. So we're not getting in the game of trying to have a website that pushes commodities, depreciable commodities. This is the exchange of value. So it's more upmarket, it's lower in transaction volume, but the premium is higher both between people and between the buyer and the seller. Secondly, we're going to have a pay wallet that will give people the ability to pay with multiple currencies at the shelf, both offline and online. So that's a merchant window, that's a website. So much of what we're trying to do is get these things from being in the hands of 1% of people to 99% of the rest of us that want to use, send, spend, pay, peg, all these sorts of things from their wallet, but just don't have the tool set to do it yet because it's so deep down in the tech stack. And so what we want to do is reduce the complexity and the mystification of this stuff and say, hey, this is really elegant technology. Yeah, lots of people are working on it. Don't look under the hood. It's very complex. But now you can send and spend with that at the merchant window in the same way you could use a credit card or Apple Pay from your phone. And we think that's a critical next step. So we'll be getting in the game on that. That wallet product is in beta right now. Adam Wolf, from the creator of DigiCafe, has joined our team full-time, so he's leading us as the technology lead. He's doing amazing work there. You'll be able to pay with DigiByte down the street or around the world, and so we're really excited to empower that, as well as Bitcoin and some other key things that we want people to use, including our own native token, which I'll be talking about. And then lastly, the third pillar of the stool is the financial product. So this is a really exciting product. We're actually running ahead of schedule on this, as we are with the rest of our entire project roadmap. This is a product that we had in mind. We put it out there last November, December. Hey, we're going to start taking digital assets, and in the exact same way as an ETF is a wrapper around stocks, we're going to put a digital wrapper around these other digital assets. Because a big part of these markets, and the reason why we only have 1% penetration so far globally, is that these markets go like this on price, right? And so people are scared. They go, oh, it's too hot to handle. I don't want to touch it. I heard it's a day trader's playground. And sometimes it is, and it is so. But we want to try to change that to guide major inflows. And the way that, the traditional financial markets have done that over the last 25 years, ETFs have become a $4.5 trillion product line. Simply because people said, okay, great. So with one click, I can own these 30 stocks in the Dow 30. And that's why we created the Block 30, is to start to take the Block 3, the Block 5, the Block 10, the Block 20, and the Block 30 over time, tie those to a really intelligent multi-factor index, and put them in a digital basket for the customer. And so we recently launched that here over the last month with Coinbook in the United States to non-accredited investors, which is huge, I think, for crypto. And then secondly, we're going to be launching the Block 30 to global investors, as well as US accredited here in Europe and elsewhere on the Blackmoon platform. So I highly encourage you guys here in Europe to check out the Blackmoon platform. They're doing stuff that is 5 years ahead of the traditional financial markets in terms of digital tokenization. So that's taking a basket of assets in a digital token, whether it's digital assets or stocks or bonds or real estate, and putting it into a digital asset like DGB assets for the customer to buy and hold in one click from their digital wallet. And we really think that that's sort of the threshold moment for being able to step into mass adoption. So those are the three ways we're going to try to get this stuff out to people over the next 10 to 20 years. The business model we learned from on Web 2.0 was Alibaba. They've done a masterful job of getting in, like I said, t-shirts, pacifiers, mattresses. When you check out, you go into a pay wallet that now has almost 1 billion people in it. They also put you in one-touch click mode to a financial set of products. So this is the ground game that we're running, just with a different set of technologies for Web 3.0. But it's a good business model to learn from the commodities side. Here's just a sneak peek of our marketplace. We have sort of the first live beta version of this behind the scenes that we'll be rolling out. Not ready yet though, but you'll see kind of the look, feel, and trade dress that DGB Assets is going to be getting with this. Thanks, Steffi. So we'll start to calibrate people by industry. So like I said, if you're a restoration guy or you're interested in buying 20% of a food truck in Miami, we see commerce really becoming shared in the economy. So you look at a Bird scooter getting a $3 billion valuation by pairing a rider with a scooter. So it's an incredible economy right now. VRBO, Bird, Airbnb, Uber, they all found really niche, deep vertical markets that took them into the billions on valuations. We'd like to try to do the same thing for the exchange of assets. And we all have them, right? I mean, everything is an asset if you look at it that way, or need to in your financial life. So we want to give people the opportunity to buy, sell, and invest on the blockchain. So we'll start to hover around recommendations for folks. I was on travel in Argentina in December, and we went to a place called the Vines of Mendoza, where they auctioned off to customers around the world. Each customer could buy a row of vines. That's a perfect illustration of what tokenization can be, where you say, you know what, we want to build a clubhouse, a 100-room hotel, a Francis Momon restaurant, and have a Safari Experience staff. You can auction off, like each one of these vines was auctioned off to a family. So like a family in California says, okay, I want to own part of a tokenized portion of a winery in Argentina. They get their own bottle each year. They get to show it to their friends, you know, these sorts of things. And then the landowner gets to gain liquidity to build out new projects that stimulate disintermediated economic activity. So really exciting stuff that gets freed up really quickly here. So we'll do some real estate listings. Here's a vision of what like a product detail page would look like. In my day job at Epson, I have about 450 products that we have to manage at any given time on Amazon, Walmart, Best Buy, that sort of thing. And so you're always looking at your product detail pages, your videos, your imagery, figuring out what drives the customer to begin to engage in activity with one another on the buyer-seller level. And we'll also be looking at some origin assurance type of products as well. So business listings. Millennials statistically are not buying the whole parcel. They're not buying standalone suburban homes in the United States. So our economic tools have to change in terms of how we communicate with these people that are, you know, I'm 40 and I watch 40 and under, and their economic activity is totally different from people that are older than they are. And we need to adjust our tool set for them to be able to engage in what they're interested in. They'd much rather have 4 of them buy a rental and take it 5 weekends a year for Coachella and Stagecoach and then rent it out the other 48 weeks. They're very much a stay and pay and go away type of audience instead of buying the whole standalone suburban home, movie theaters, golf courses, on and on. I mean, the economic principles are changing very, very quickly. And in order for us to have a cohesive landscape economically, we need to create tool sets that give people a sense of being in the game or some sense of economic activity where you lower the barrier to entry on economic participation. Physical assets, creative assets, et cetera. These guys are way ahead on that stuff, which is awesome to see. Origin assurance, these sorts of things. And then here's the pay client, so you'll start to see this come in. The goal is scan and pay, tap and pay, and then pay and peg for the merchant. So much of the objections we hear in the field, so we're like 90% of the point of sale market at Epson globally for receipts. So much of what you hear from the merchant layer is, dude, it's cool, there's no reason for me not to take it, but I need to be able to peg into my native fiat if they like their fiat, right? There's some zones like Venezuela or LATAM where they say, oh, I'll keep it in, you know, Bitcoin or these sorts of things. But in strong fiat zones, you want to be able to pay and peg. And so we're very excited to start to partner with some technologies and exchanges that will be able to provide that custodial capability as well as that technology capability. And then lastly, our financial division. So Josiah, this is not a bank. Promise. It's just an ability to take a decentralized public blockchain layer and lend it some immediate impact on the customer to be able to participate. So we don't have branches. We're not closed on Saturdays. We don't have hours. This is true economic activity in its purest form for the customer. And we wanted to do that in a way that gives people the ability to invest in one click, and that's absolutely critical. So if you see on the next slide, 57% of people are not investing, and that's huge. I mean, that's not a gap, that's a Grand Canyon, and it's really, really important for us to get people investing. This number goes to 99% in blockchain, and so it's great for all of us that are holding early if the market goes. But at the same time, we've got to get people in the mix. And a lot of that for the millennial, if you watch the way, and we did a lot of study of how they consume media or consume products, it's with one click in a basket. And so we need to be able to provide them with that. They go, okay, cool, so I can own the top 30 US stocks or European stocks in one click in this little round token on my phone. They're going to do that. You'll put spare balances to work on the blockchain if you can do that. We're calling it the Nest thermostat moment of finance, where you say, okay, my wallet's now on my phone. Wait, I don't need to just have it sitting dormant in a checking account. If I press go, I can actually own 20 mixed assets in one DGB asset token. Really exciting stuff, and we think finance goes there over the next 5, 10, 15 years, and we want to be there. So the Block 3, this is currently outperforming $30 trillion worth of non-levered ETF and mutual fund products, so we're very excited about that. We're not Wall Street guys, but we're certainly excited to outperform. But we can't take the credit for that. We're just packaging up assets that guys like you are building, and so we're really excited to do that in very simple ways for the customer. And then Black Moon, this will be launching very soon. Future state, so phase 2 is about putting this into one digital basket for the customer. In this case, the example I've used is digital assets. And then over time, on the next slide, the end state is that true Nest thermostat moment where you start to take one Block 360 mix token and you say, okay, what's my ideal outcome for my portfolio? Getting people thinking creatively about how they can tokenize assets into one click. That's the true end state of where we'd like to get, where you have Boeing next to Bitcoin, next to Facebook, next to Alibaba. Very exciting stuff that Black Moon platform is actually already starting to do today. So very honored to be a brand platform for them. And here's just a note from the former CEO of NASDAQ, who it's nice to get the substantiation. He says, right now 100% of the stocks and bonds could be tokenized. In 5 years, they all will be tokenized. So we're fine trying to be first on that game. So. Okay, so the final big announcement for today, and thank you all for your time, is that we have the Block 30 Labs ecosystem. You've sort of seen how we're going to get people from a marketplace, check them out on a pay wallet, and then offer them financial products in one click. So very cohesive 1, 2, 3 breadcrumbs. The final announcement that we're going to be making is that we are going to take on credit cards with our own native currency inside that ecosystem. So about $1 trillion in fees leaves the small business and customer wallet every year to credit cards. Credit cards have an average of 6 fees per card. So you have stores like our Kroger in the United States that is literally booting out Visa because their fees are so prohibitive. So we have an exciting set of technologies that can take that on and save that 3% back into the customer wallet or the merchant wallet at a near 3% level. So if we can put $1 trillion back into the economic system, we're really excited about that, even if it's in small chunks along the way. So that's what we're trying to do here. On the next slide, you'll see the way we've teed that up is, so this will be a DGB asset. This will be packaged as a DGB asset, and it'll be packaged for the merchant and for the customer, specifically for what they're calling in the United States a consumptive utility token. So this is a consumptive asset, the intent of which is to spend. So send, spend, pay, peg, right? You store your Bitcoin, you spend your blocks. And so we're trying to give a commodity-driven unit to the blockchain. If you watch the arc of cloud, it wasn't until Alibaba or Amazon packaged up the cloud into the merchant and the consumer layer in a way they understood it, and that's when it became $1 trillion business. We think blockchain is at that cloud moment. Just some coverage we're getting here. So this is packaging up things like DGB or blocks into our multi-currency pay wallet and putting it on Windows, stacking it up, right, and comparing against Visa, MasterCard, Discover. So blockchain isn't being packaged like this right now, and we're going to start with that today. So these stickers are in my briefcase, and we'll have a few of them up by the end of the night. I promise you that with these guys. So I know that. And again, just leaning into the performance specifications of DigiByte under the hood. You know, I see the England guys, like, you know, we sponsor the Mercedes Formula One team at Epson. It's like every year you pick the best engine for your race car. And DigiByte, we just looked at it and said, okay, we've got the shell and the race team and the uniforms and the trade dress and the brand and like, what is the best engine for our car? And DigiByte is just, everything can be powered by DigiByte. It's just a premier technology that you want under the hood. So we're really excited to package that up in a way that the average customer can quickly understand in one click. And again, you start to look at credit cards. You say, okay, how can we stack up and compare? And the answer is that we can grossly outpace them on a lot of different fees that are not anything kind for the customer. And finally, just bringing it all together, here's like a marketplace listing where a customer come in, create a listing. So in this case, one of our angel investors is the owner of some amusement parks and some escape rooms in the United States. Let's say he wants to sell 10% of one of his locations in Kansas City. for $10,000. So you come in, you learn about the business history, the listings, et cetera. As a millennial, you say, oh, I didn't know I could be a business owner. This is very cool. I get to play Shark Tank from my couch. And so you would create your security token. You would say the percentage you want to sell of that business, check off your rules and your regulations and your compliance and your terms and conditions. Create the token. Customer goes to check out. We attack credit cards here on the fee layer with blocks, powered by DigiByte. So it's, do you want to check out here for Visa, or do you want to save 3% on blocks? So the #1 submission on Venmo right now in the United States is rent. So kids are paying rent on their credit cards, and they're paying 3% to do it. And you can't, that just doesn't work. So we see blocks as a competitive spend product right up against credit cards to unlock that $1 trillion plus in value and put it back into customers' pockets. So very exciting threshold moment here for that. And here's an example of how that'll roll out. So that's sort of what we got. Our project roadmap, we're just, again, super excited to be included in the DigiByte family and to make the global announcements today. All of our tech stack is in beta or live, so we're actually running well ahead of schedule on our project roadmap, which I know is very rare in crypto, but we're blessed to have an amazing team. So thank you all for having us, and we're really excited for the future. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Brian. That was great. And finally, I think would be really good to talk about Jared's latest book. So, what blockchain will be in 2035?
Thanks, Steffi. And once again, I want to personally thank everyone that's here. You know, it's truly amazing to be here. This is our first global summit, and I really appreciate everyone coming here, because without the community, you know, none of this would be here. So thank you. As Steffi mentioned, I'm currently, well, we're pretty close to releasing a book called Blockchain 2035, The Digital DNA of Internet 3.0. And we came up with a name for the title because the year 2035 is actually the last year, or the year that the very last DigiByte will be minted. And for those that are worried that the network's going to end then, it's not. It'll keep going. So we actually tested this in 2015 just to double check. So thinking well ahead of the curve. But the idea is that blockchain, well, the introduction is simple. If you can imagine all the DNA in your body, in your hair, in your toes, in your legs, what if all that DNA was just simply in your fingertip? And you know, you were making some cocktails or chopping some vegetables and you slipped and you cut your finger off. Well, that would be a pretty big problem, right? But that's actually how we architect all of our data solutions on the internet today. That's why you have all these, you know, data breaches, cyber attacks, because we have these centralized repositories for all our most important information. But if you look around us, you can see that nature didn't do that. It took the most, you know, important information out there, it decentralized it, and it secured it. And blockchain technology is really a paradigm shift in that it is mimicking the data systems we see in nature. So that's kind of the lead into the book. And explaining, you know, basically how this technology is going to influence our lives by the year 2035. So we kind of wanted to have a roundtable discussion to get everybody's opinion on how they saw this technology being adopted globally in our everyday lives by the year 2035. So I guess we can start with you.
A lot of what we are thinking at Vertbase and how that mass adoption comes is from the merchant side. A lot of what Block 30 had mentioned and kind of discussed, just making it easy, kind of giving, there's a lot of barrier to entry into a lot of these technologies that we have. We understand it because we're involved in it, but the everyday person just goes, oh, is that like Bitcoin? You know, they've seen a newscast, something on their local news, the internet that mentioned Bitcoin, probably not in a very favorable light. So getting past that and then showing them the advantages of removing those transaction fees and the speed at which those transactions happen. I was actually paying my co-founder Stu a couple months back with PayPal, and it was a couple $1,000 transaction. They took like $200, $300 right off the top just for that transaction. That's unheard of. There's no reason that I need to pay that amount of money to transfer it instantly. And then they held it for 30 days. That was another.
So when we talk about book sales, we did the pre-sale, right? So Amazon Pay actually froze our pay account for the book because they don't want you to do it outside their system. But then PayPal actually froze a couple orders and refunded them. So even a book about blockchain and payments in the future of cryptocurrency, people were, we gave people the option. Of course, you can buy with DigiByte, but it's just frustrating to see these systems that basically can just, like, with the flip of a switch and an arbitrary decision, cut off your financial needs.
Yeah, they have all the control, and it's sometimes for good, but more times than not, it's for bad because it's for their own favorable control. But getting out in front, trying to help some of these smaller businesses get kind of knowledge with the blockchain, utilizing it, that'll just in turn kind of, create that flywheel effect that we need to have this entire industry to move forward.
What I was talking about within my presentation is the identity protection. I think it's one of the major things that could evolve and change the world, how we log in and then identify ourselves. I think within the blockchain system we can really do great things like VID is doing with documents. It's really awesome. But the privacy, it's one of the major things that need to be protected. The big companies are using our data. Facebook is using our data. We are the product of them, and that has to stop, I think. Yeah, that is one of the things. Instagram account. Yeah, that's why blockchain is very important for for the coming future, and DigiByte is doing well in this. So, thank you, Jared.
Yeah, I think even the people that don't know anything about blockchain cannot avoid to get confronted with it, because I think in future every day-to-day application we are using will have a blockchain layer beneath it, and I think so you will not notice you are working with an application that's built on a blockchain, maybe a small logo powered by DigiByte or something, but I think everybody will have to work with applications built on a blockchain.
My name is Andrew Knapp. I'm the co-author with Jared. One of the big things, and coming from a different perspective from somebody who doesn't know anything about blockchain or Bitcoin or anything else, one big issue is the realization that our current financial system has driven gross income inequality. Wealth is becoming more and more centralized in the hands of the very few. And regardless of somebody's political stripe, that does cause political issues. People feel like their lives are falling behind, that they can't keep up, they're saddled with more and more debt. Our entire financial system is built on debt. To quote the hedge fund billionaire Ray Dalio, who's the most successful in American history, most of what people think is money is really debt and credit. And because that's driven such inequality, it's also creating a lot of business opportunities to resolve that inequality. And also a lot of options both within and without government. One huge idea that's becoming popular in the US, and one of our political candidates currently for this upcoming election is talking about, is universal basic income. And the idea that the government gives everybody, regardless of who they are, $1,000 a month to basically live their lives. And this is also in a situation where in the US government is, what, $22.2 trillion in debt. Just in the time I and Jared have been working on the book, we've gained $700 billion in debt on our books as a country. On top of that, there's unfunded liabilities, which are entitlements programs that are supposed to pay out in the future. That's another $210 trillion that's out there. Did I say billion before? I meant trillion. Sorry. And just the way that engine works is going to cause hyperinflation. We're living at the end of one of the longest monetary experiments in history. And for blockchain and other forms of crypto assets, not only are they an answer to that, but possibly they're a better way to distribute wealth. Imagine instead of universal basic income, having something like a national digital asset that acts like gold to back the currency in a way, or it's parallel to the currency, and that every citizen gets one or two. And the market values it, nobody's printing money to make it, but it is a way of preserving and distributing wealth in a more fair and equitable way. So I think ideas like that will stick a lot more in the future, and we will see experiments by countries and governments and also by corporations to create a more equitable world.
I'm going to keep it a bit shorter, but our main focus is adoption, real-world use cases, not get too techy. Blockchain opens doors also in the corporate world, but they want to understand it and don't dive too deep because it gets scary. So yeah, we'll be focusing on more use cases, more adoption, great examples at the table, really impressed. Wow, and identity is really something we have to focus on. We use notaries now to identify a person. First time, that's not a problem, but then it will be. And so yeah, we'll keep on focusing, keep on building, and again, really happy to be here.
Just to add a little bit to what Marnix just said, I think it's important that we all prove real use cases and that it actually does provide a better solution to use a blockchain-based technology. Because we lived through the whole hype. A lot of people who didn't really understand it got their say. And unfortunately, that also brings a lot of unwanted attention to the bad sides of what could have, been a really good technology 2 years before this right now. So it is important that we actually build cases that actually help people and actually work. So I think that's what we all have to focus on right now.
So another thing that comes to mind is that no matter how fantastic your technology might be, if you cannot explain it, it will never get mainstream adoption. If I can explain VID to my mom, and it's great, and that's part of what we're doing. That if you and your ideas and your idea especially are explainable, and I really think that is the way to go, because else we're gonna keep rolling around in this blockchain is Bitcoin, the whole thing. So having a great set of tech is wonderful. It's a great start, but you have to find ways to explain it to your mom, really.
Yeah. No, I totally agree, man. I think it's the handoff between builders and developers into connectors and corporate partners. And if we can do that, I think we'll win really big.
Yeah, so the question is... Yeah, so the question is, are we concerned that about Litecoin and they could take some of our technology? A simple answer, DigiByte originally started as an experiment to improve the Bitcoin core protocol. And the original hope was when we put this code out there and some of the efficiencies that they would adopt it. And to this day, that hasn't happened. Bitcoin Cash did. In fact, if it wasn't for DigiByte, Bitcoin Cash and the Bitcoin SV drama wouldn't even have happened because the blockchain would have froze and died. So, because they implemented our DigiShield basically in real time. They actually literally forked from it and then made a bunch of comments criticizing us for not commenting our code better. So that's how I can tell that. But I don't believe we're headed towards a world where it's going to be a winner take all. I really don't. I mean, name one industry out there where there's only one brand. I mean, whether it's banks, telecoms, financial, there's multiple. So without a doubt, I think Litecoin is one of the more decentralized projects out there. But they do have I'd probably admit a little bit better brand recognition. But the way I look at it, we keep focused, we keep working, and we keep driving. And we make the best possible product we can, and then we get out there and we start, raising awareness, and that's why we're here. That's why I'm working on the book, and it's like you said, if you can't explain it, that's the biggest hurdle is education and awareness. So.
Yeah, I think if you look at FANG, Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, and Google taking up, on some days over 50% of the U.S. stock market in terms of trading and market cap. There's been great success between technologies in a grouped sector. And so I think it's never a one or the other type of market in terms of innovation. And so I think our hope for blockchain is that you silo bust and you get people working together to take the best pieces of tech, which can be implemented across platforms. to move the technology forward in a way that benefits the customer. And I think as long as our respective projects stay really intent on benefiting the end user, the right technology will win out. And I think a major weakness of crypto is that you don't go on StockTwits and hear someone say, I would never invest in Amazon. However, I've invested in Facebook. These sorts of things. And so I think what we need to do as a unit globally is just say, what, guys, like, this is really cool tech. Yeah, you've got your sort of derivation of it, and we have ours. If you group those together and people start to really experience which technology is right for them, then they can figure out how much they want to invest in a certain project. But collective adoption and collective movement forward is absolutely critical, and they're not inextricably intertwined. You can do one without the other. So I think it's really important for us to work together.
Yeah, just one more quick thought on that. In terms of Litecoin and Bitcoin, I don't see any major real innovations occurring anytime soon. Those projects are just too big. There's just too many moving components, and it would be too contentious to make any real kind of fundamental changes. Most of the innovation in this space is happening in outside projects. And so that's what we're doing with Dandelion, DigiAssets, this other stuff. So, yeah.
But thank you very much for everybody to be here, and a special thank you also to Justin and Stuart from Vertbase for making this event happen.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you, Steffi.